Hi there folks, my name is Novoid24 and welcome to another episode of the Three Grumpy Simmers. Now of course, as always, I am joined by my other two fellow Grumpy Simulator pilots. I am joined by Sérgio from helisimmer.com.
Hey guys.
And I am joined once again by the purple hat wearing DCS Tomcat awaiting expert of Bel Geode.
Morning. It's too early in the morning for this.
It's really early. This is the one of the problems that we face as Grumpy Simmers, and why unfortunately Drew is usually the grumpiest of us, because trying to navigate three people on opposite part or like completely different parts of the world for time zones, it's a bit of a nightmare. Anyway, that is not what we are here being grumpy about today. Now we are here being grumpy, of course, of something that has taken not only the flight simulation world by a bit of a news storm over the last few weeks, but actually it made its way out of the flight simulation community and into actually the wider gaming community, as an example of something that went horribly wrong. And of course, I am talking about, and we're here to discuss today, the recent events of FSLabs and their. I don't know how we put this. Do we put this as them being accused of putting malware in their release of the A320, or are we saying that they put in a defective DRM? I don't know how we're gonna how are we gonna describe this?
Messy.
It's difficult.
Messy,
The jury's
yes.
still out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's messy.
It's
That's
very messy.
basically
Yes. So
Implementation was inaccurate.
yeah. So for those who might have been hiding under a rock for the last few weeks, the saga all started with the update, with an update that was pushed out for the FSLabs A320. Now, FSLabs have been with us in the flight simulation community for a number of years, most notably famous for their Concorde X product. But also been known for quite a while for producing very high quality add-ons at a significant investment of time and money from everybody involved. Now, the discussion is that there was initial reports shortly after this update went out that users were reporting that there was a piece of malware which was enabling another user, an unknown entity, to be able to access all the passwords in I think it was the Chrome browser?
Yeah, Google Chrome.
Google Chrome.
Yeah.
Google Chrome. Which, of course, from statistics is the #1 internet browser used by most people on their home computers now. So this was obviously a very incredible security vulnerability. It was raised. It made it across Reddit. It made it across Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun. It even made it over to PC Gamer, which is, you never hear flight simulation news ever making PC Gamer. So the fact that this did was pretty epic. But unfortunately, for the wrong reasons.
No. They did do something on flight simulation a few years ago. I think the article was entitled, "Is Flight Simulation Dead?"
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
indeed.
they do flight simulation, but they only do the good parts.
Yeah.
We're
gonna leave that one to another day. Anyway,
Yeah.
But anyway.
So we
Yeah.
have this scenario that this user reporting that we've got this malware. The initial FSLabs was saying no, stuff is clean. There is no malware there. That then, over the course of the next few hours, changed to we have DRM, so digital rights management, built in there, which has a phone home feature, which is something that is quite common across software these days, and which then turned into we maybe should have done a different version of this DRM to we're just going to pull this straight out. So where does that leave us? And I suppose that leaves us asking a few questions. So the first off is that how did a piece of software that is able to decrypt and extract passwords from a web browser included into a flight simulation installer in the first place? Second reason, and I think is perhaps the more interesting one, is that why did a company like FSLabs feel that they needed, a developer like FSLabs feel they needed to go to the extraordinary step of putting this sort of phone home DRM into their product in the first place. And I think that's possibly a more of an underlying key here. Now, as a resident software development expert, I'm going to throw to Sergio for a second here and sort of go, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, Sergio, because I'm curious from a software development standpoint, what's the, what was, some of the, from your professional opinion, what was some of the things that went wrong with the way this was done, how this was handled, and pretty much why are they actually doing this in the first place?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a messy situation. And first of all, I got to say that I'm all for any software developer to protect the rights and to protect the copies and to protect their software. So I'm not against the fact that they are trying to do it. They are trying to protect their software against piracy and against people that actually don't pay for a product that they have worked on for so long. The thing is how they did it, and let's face it, this is not how you do it. I have absolutely no problem with having a phone home system on my computer if it's not sending my private data to anyone. Now, there's this small detail that we have read a lot of different things on the media these last few days, and like you said, it made it on a lot of websites and a lot of news agencies, and it even went out on Ars Technica and other non-gaming. Yeah, it went out on a lot of different webs. Yeah. So it went national on some countries. This is actually huge, and there's a small detail that I would like to add to this. I read somewhere they were quoting. I don't know if it was on their forum or something like this, but it was one of the guys saying that they found out that their software was already being pirated somewhere on a website, and they have included the screenshots of that website. And they even trying to defend themselves, saying that, guys, we did this not just for us because this website has products from other companies, which is unfortunately normal. You usually don't have a website dedicated to single simulation product. But the thing is, they said that they specifically targeted Google Chrome, not because, like you said, Drew, it's the #1 browser on the internet, but because they found out that the culprit was using Chrome. How did they find out that the culprit was using Chrome so that they could target him later? This kind of implies
that concerns me right there. Like the fact that they even knew that what browser they were using. That terrifies me. Not going to lie. I'm not going to making any accusations. But what if there was actually some other malware before the one that was discovered? Okay? So they had to find that they were using Chrome. How did they find that that the guy was using Chrome so that they could target him later? And like you said, this terrifies me. And this whole situation, look, it's bad enough that they were decrypting information and sending information from this guy, and they say that that's just this guy, but this is software. I'm sorry, there's like how many thousands of people, acquired that product, whether legally or illegally. It's really here nor there at the moment, but there are thousands of users of virtual pilots out there flying this product that have this software on their computer now. I'm sorry,
this is software.
Anybody can access. Anybody who knows what that software is can remote access to my PC. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, well,
and that's the other thing. That's the other thing that gets me too, is when they're saying that it can basically sniff out your passwords in Google Chrome. Why? What is the purpose of that? What do you need my passwords for?
Why would you... Okay, so...
How is that tracking down piracy?
Hypothetically, I have a pirated copy of your product on my computer. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Why the actual F do you need to know the passwords in my web browser history.
Yeah, something doesn't add up there.
They're playing cops. What they're doing is they're playing clubs. They're playing cops. They are playing cops. Sorry. So the way I see it, what they're doing is kind of like this. Drew, imagine that you wake up in the middle of the night, like you just did today, but instead of walking to find gentlemen, we won't go. Yeah. So, but instead of having a nice chat with two gorgeous guys, like some random guys.
I can't wait to see where this goes.
I'm terrified where this is going, but anyway.
Imagine that you wake up in the middle of the night and you have a guy, robbing your home. And what you do is you grab that guy, you have this all heroic fight, and you grab the guy and you take him to the basement and you put him behind bars for 5 to 10 years because, that's what the law says. You would be kidnapping the guy. You would be breaking the law. It's not up to you to do this job.
Okay.
So,
what you should do is call the cops. Call 911.
Call the cops.
Or grab my katana and chop him to bits. But that's another
but that's another thing. Yeah.
Disclaimer: we do not promote violence on this show. Just saying.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Also, I'm never visiting Drew ever.
Anyway, but
not in the middle of the night. You're not.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that and going back to it, absolutely, I 100% agree that that software developers have a right to protect their products. Absolutely. And I think that there's no disagreement here, and I don't think there's any real disagreement in the community about some form of DRM being included with the product. Now, let's face it, and that's one of the arguments. Funnily enough, that was actually one of the discussions that I remember having with Dovetail Games many years ago when they first moved FSX over to Steam Edition. Was basically so they could simply go, here is a DRM platform right there. Done.
Yep.
No more having to mess around with piracy. No more having to mess around with different versions, different installers, and all this kind of stuff. It's like if it's on this platform, it is protected for both the end user and the developer. It's a secure platform. It's easily delivered, easily updatable. So and this was one of the discussions. And it's sort of like, okay, that actually makes sense. And to your point earlier, Sergio, as well, is that yes, unfortunately, these piracy websites, they aren't just for one simulation product or for one product. Generally, it's just you can get so much stuff on there. But then that leads us to the next question of why is that stuff on these piracy websites? And let's be clear about something here as well. A lot of people seem to have this romantic notion about piracy. It's not. It's not robbing the rich to feed the poor kind of thing. No, sorry, this is theft. It's straight up theft is what it is. So let's just dispel any romantic notions about that straight away. So being able to protect a developer's intellectual property and their hard-earned time, because Sergio, I would dare you even. I would dare to say, can you even comprehend how many thousands of hours would have gone into decoding something like the FSLabs A320? It would have been hundreds of thousands of man hours, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, it's a huge product. So they had a lot of time and money invested on it. When people look at products, they see at the price they are paying, but I cannot even start to imagine the price that FSLabs has paid from their own pockets to develop this product. We're talking about.
And that's where I'm going to
help me out.
Yeah, okay.
How much does this product actually sell for?
Too much.
No, seriously. Honestly, I don't know anything about FSLabs until this all came up, because it's not the kind of aircraft that I like to fly.
Something dollars.
We're talking about $100 add-on. I can kind of see, not that I would justify it, I can kind of see why it would be on the piracy radar then, because let's face it, that's a lot of money.
It is.
And what sims is it for? Is it for like the ESP platforms, or is it X-Plane?
It's ESP platforms only.
Okay.
It is a single it looks like, have a look. So I'm just trying to find the. This is the other thing, is that the fact that there's no sort of price on the actual website, that concerns me. Can I just say that?
Yeah, that's kind of worrying as well. I suppose I could probably Google it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've seen, similar products or whatnot that sell for a lot of money. For example, the other big thing that everybody's been talking about over the last couple of weeks has been the Flight Factor A320 Ultimate. That's a $90 product there.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so the version that you have is that, so you can either purchase the FSX only version, which is $100, or you can purchase the prepared version. And to their credit, they are offering you can purchase the prepared version 3 and get the free upgrade to V4, and that is $140.
So there's two separate price points for the two different ESP platforms.
See, I'd almost, yeah.
Oh wow!
That's a pricing structure that's been pioneered by PMDG and many others. And no discount if you're getting, the prepared and the FSX version. But anyway, so we're talking. Okay, so we're talking, and this is sort of what I was getting to, sort of starting to get to just before, was the fact that we need to look at why are these things costing there. I understand absolutely, Sergio, as you said, the number of man hours that would go into developing an add-on like this would be in the hundreds of thousands. The cost of getting the development time, the access to plans, and actual experts to come in and test it and stuff like that would be phenomenal. But at the same time, we're talking about, for round figures, $150 per user, to pony up for an add-on. So, Drew, as you said, this is why suddenly this is on a pirate's radar. So, a question then: are developers starting to price themselves out of a market? And again, I'm absolutely not condoning the theft of any developer's product in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely not, because they need to be paid for the work that they do. But the question is, would they not be better off pricing it at a lower price point to then enable more people to actually buy it?
I'm thinking that would probably, at least from a customer standpoint or customer service standpoint, that would probably be in their best interest to, grow their market. I mean, we can get into economics and talk about 100 people buying $1 worth of product or 10 people buying $100 worth of product, which one is going to be more feasible for the company and so on and so forth. And of course, the math doesn't lie on that. But by the same token, it's like I said, I've never even really heard of FSLabs prior to all of this stuff going up. And again, that's because most of the time I don't fly those kinds of aircraft.
Yeah.
But I would have been more inclined to look into something like that if I were interested in that, if they had a lower price point. Because honestly, you're talking about $150, and let's see, FSX right now, if you get it on Steam, costs what, 20? 30?
Special FSX on Steam probably costs you what, $15 on special?
Even less.
Yes, so we're talking about something that's
$5
five times more than the sim that it's supposed to go into.
Literally, okay, so, and if you go with the prepared version, you're talking about $140 for a single aircraft to go into a sim that costs $200 or $60 if you're a student. So we're talking something that's literally either 3 times the cost of the simulator or almost the cost of the simulator for one aircraft.
Right.
Now, and this,
I mean, don't get me wrong,
and PMDG have literally the same pricing. The same pricing. It's $135 for their base aircraft, for their base 777 and the 747. It is $135 for the base aircraft. If you want the extra versions, then you're ponying up, $50, $60 extra each time you want a different version.
Let me
and we
just
see
add
that happen a lot too throughout the entire industry. The Flight Factor A320 that I just mentioned earlier, $90 for the plane.
Yeah.
But guess what? Extra livery packs, $10.
Yeah, for 3 liveries.
You have DLCs now.
So where
Yeah,
I need
Or
that.
DLC has DLCs.
yeah,
I need that graphic of the bun, like the burger being sold like
yeah,
piece by piece. But so
yeah.
Sergio, so again, and again, I'm going to keep putting you on the spot here because you're the resident software developer here. But this is my question. You know, and again, I absolutely agree that you know a fair price needs to be paid and a fair compensation needs to be made to developers. Absolutely. You know, we've all three of us have been fortunate enough to have opportunities and times to spend with real developers. Well, you're a real developer, but you know, but with flight sim developers. So you know, we want these people to actually earn a living and that kind of stuff. But are they asking too much money? And this is going to be the result.
Let me just be straight with you. I don't know. Because I don't have access to the amount of time they use to develop the software, and they have no access to their sales. Let me pick a point that you guys have talked about, and I have seen a lot of these throughout the internet, which is people always comment that the freaking aircraft costs more than the base sim, and I personally have no problem with that. I actually truly have no problem with that. Because we're talking about a sim that, the base sim has sold, 10, 100, 1,000 times more than the aircraft that I'm trying to sell to this smaller community, to this smaller niche.
Yeah, and no matter how you pitch it, we are always going to be a fairly small niche community. Yeah, absolutely true.
Yeah,
that's a given.
But the thing is, you have a broad wide simulation base of people that purchase, they have purchased the sim. And some of them, they get freeware, some of them get payware, some of them try it a couple of times and don't get back to the sim ever again, but they have actually paid for the product. And the thing is, DevTil Games is able to sell FSX for so cheap right now, but the thing is that they probably have made that money they invested on like several times already. So I'm not shocked by the fact that an aircraft can cost more, and I'm talking about an aircraft. I'm not talking about a scenery. I'm talking about a highly complex software piece, such as an airliner. We cannot compare it to, for example, one of the things that comes to my mind is Dreamfoil's helicopters for X-Plane. No, Fred does
good stuff.
Yeah, it's the best out there for helicopters, and Fred does an astonishing job with them. The guy goes the extra mile or 10 on 100 miles. It's kind of like the Tristan, the Tristan of helicopters. The guy runs and runs and runs because he gets bored.
Hey! I did a 2.5 kilometer swim, a 50k bike ride, and a 10k run this morning. So shush you. Anyway, moving on.
I haven't even had breakfast yet.
You didn't even get, you're not walking, you haven't awakened yet. So, but the thing is, the guy is the king of helicopters, and helicopters are, although they are very complex machines, aerodynamically speaking, they are very, very simple machines compared to tube liners, to airliners. So, to be honest with you, I cannot give you a straight answer if they are charging too much or not for the products, because I don't have access to the amount of money they have spent and the amount of sales they are doing. But I know of a single reason why is it that they are making these products very expensive. It's because they sell. Period. They sell.
So we're talking about basically the P.T. Barnum rule of marketing, which is a sucker's born every minute.
Someone, basically, as long as there are people out there willing to pony up the price tag that is being set by
that's the
FSLabs
thing.
and PMDG, then they will continue to set at that price.
Yeah.
And
let me give you an example that happened here in Portugal with something very different from software. This is my own theory, of course, but it's something that I think is actually happening in the market. The price of gas here in Portugal is absolutely insane. You guys complain of the price of gas in the US. Yeah, you should see how it is here in Portugal.
You should see it in Australia.
Yeah, we're talking about a gallon is what, like 5-6 liters, and the price of a gallon over there in the US is what? What's the price of the fuel gallon here there right now?
$2 and well, where I am in Pennsylvania, it's about 2.50 or 2.60,
Yeah,
$2.60.
yeah, it's very expensive, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about
For
5 to 6
liters.
liters. Yeah, the price per liter here in Portugal is about $2. You still want to complain? You want to keep on
Wow.
complaining? Yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
About the
yeah,
same as yeah.
yeah, true. I'm not. Yeah, just shut up. But the
Okay,
thing
so
is,
go to Portugal, buy a bike. Got it. Got it.
yeah, yeah. But the thing is, prices have been fluctuating through time, like
Mm.
like everywhere in the world. But the thing is, and this is the theory I have. Some years ago, the government said, okay, let's not have a law and rule the prices. We're just gonna let the market rule itself and get companies to enter this competition and to lower prices. And what they did, of course, they just they got together and the prices are all the same across all brands. So they are the thing that they I think they are doing is that they raise the prices to a point where they see sales starting to drop, and then they drop the prices a
drop
little.
it
Yeah,
5%
because
to yeah, no. And
yeah,
that's
because the excuse they give us is that they are all this is influenced by the price of the barrel, of course. But the thing is, the price of the barrel it's not the same that was a year ago, and the price of the fuel is pretty much the same. So they are having higher profit. And why is it that they are doing this? Because we are buying it. If we
Hmm.
started,
and
if we
that's
stopped
yeah,
buying,
and that comes
Yeah, which
straight
goes back to
across
the
with
theme.
this, yeah, and it comes
yeah,
back to the
and I
theme for
think
us is that we're
yeah,
paying this
and I
price
think
for
it's
these
kind of
add-ons.
exactly, and this is exactly what I think it's happening. I may be wrong, and one of these guys can come to me and tell me, okay, Sergio, here's the thing, here's the math, here's my Excel spreadsheet, and we have spent this amount of money to develop this the software. We have to pay the developers and traveling and access to aircraft,
Yeah,
like you said.
and look, and this is the thing,
And I get that.
and I get that, and I 100% agree. And as I said before, I absolutely agree that developers should be paid a fair wage, and they should get fairly compensated, and for the quality of the products that we're seeing, absolutely. Um, and
I'm
not
not
having
defending them.
yeah,
I'm not
and
defending them.
this
I'm
is
not
the thing,
saying.
but it's a case of okay, my biggest concern and again this goes back to why I did do my channel in the first place, and I believe why we all do, or all three of us do what we do, is we all have a great caring for our community. We have a deep-seated, deep-rooted passion for the flight simulation community as a whole, and we want to see it thrive. We want to see it grow and thrive. And the problem that I have is the fact that I've seen it happen in other hobbies and pastimes that I've had over the years, and I've seen it in other industries, that you will have a player or a series of players who will come in and they produce very, very good quality content, and they will start charging a price which the market initially accepts because they're seeing the quality of content. But the problem is that the market doesn't grow, it gets smaller because there are fewer and fewer people who can afford that entry level price point. And this, funnily enough, almost goes back to sort of when we were first starting Three Grumpy Simmers, is the fact that we're talking about what's the entry level cost. Like the entry level cost to flight simulation prior to Dovetail Games coming on the ground basically was you needed to have everything you needed to have the Orbix back catalogue, well, at least at the very least you needed to have the bare minimum. You had to have their global sort of add-ons. You needed to have all this hardware and FSX all prepared, and it was kind of like that entry price point was, and you had to have like these add-ons by PMDG and these add-ons by A2A. If you didn't have all of these things, then you weren't a simmer, and that entry level price point was putting so many people off coming into our hobby.
Yeah.
And our passion, and that really is what drives my concern here, is that I absolutely think that we there is room for very high quality developers. Absolutely, I love the fact that there are developers that model
Mm-hmm.
everything down to a toilet failing on a tube liner. Like, cool. Did you know that flights will actually get turned back if they're like early into a flight if the toilet backs up? They're more likely
Mm-hmm.
to be turned back and given a new aeroplane for a toilet stopping than you are to have an engine failure in flight. Just saying. Anyway, so but
That's realism right there.
yeah, this is my point though, is that and this gets me back to the point of, okay, so should it be a consideration of developers and the community that's allowing the prices to be set like this, that maybe we should starting to say to developers, hey, because let's be honest here, we're all getting old. We're not getting any younger. And if we don't have a younger generation coming on board and in large numbers into our passion, into our hobby, we are literally going to die out. So, although that PC Gamer article may be wrong for the moment, it may still happen, because that's my that is my fundamental concern, is that if you keep saying that an add-on should be $140, then who's actually going to be able to obtain that?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
that's my
I
concern.
think there should be some kind of limit or upper limit, but then again, it's entirely up to the developer to decide what their product is worth. And let's also not forget, it's entirely up to the consumer to determine whether or not they really find the value in said product. Because I mean, yeah, it costs $150. I don't fly tube liners. I will never get that, so it's not even going to cross my radar. But
Yep.
Joe Schmo, the next guy over to me, maybe that's all he flies is tube liners, and he wants the most realistic experience, so that's something that's appealing to him. You know, it's so hard to say what is justified for that genre, because I mean, you're talking about myself. I play DCS. I own almost all the modules. I still have money earmarked for the Hornet, which is right around the corner, and the Tomcat. Both of those together is $100. 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
Well, both of those together is roughly around $100, maybe a little bit more, because we haven't gotten a price for the Tomcat yet. But still, I happily pay that because it's something I'm passionate about. It's something I'm interested in. So I can kind of see where the developers can get away with that if they know there's a ready-made market. But exactly like you said, Tristan, we're all getting older. And even though there are young kids that are coming in, because, you know, I see them comment on my channel all the time, I don't know what the hard numbers are if there's, you know, going to be a resurgence, if you will, of aviation in the younger generations. I just don't know. So it's hard to say that, you know, the market can even sustain these kind of prices. I'm glad that they have sales at, you know, a lot of the regular outlets that we're used to shopping in. You know, all the Aerosofts and all those other online places and whatnot. But yeah, I think there's going to come a point where we in the community as a whole have to say, okay, this is the most that we will readily pay, and basically show them, you know, this is as far as we're going to go. Any more than that, we're not paying for it.
Yeah. I don't think there's a risk of the community dying. To be honest with you, I don't see that risk. I see the risk of companies bankrupting or, you know, giving up on developing modules, because let's be honest, if they are charging the right price for their product, you know, having in consideration the sales they are actually making, and that they're not ripping us up, and they are actually, you know, just recovering the money and of course having some profit. What I see that it's probably going to happen is that, you know, if people stop buying, these products will simply stop, you know, coming up and into the market. But the thing is, guys, you cannot forget what is it that, you know, drives you, Drew, and drives you, Tristan, and drives me, and drives the rest of the guys in the community into flight simulation, which is the passion for flight. And the passion for aviation, and that is not going away. Okay, and I prefer to have a dumbed down version of an aircraft than no version at all. So if I
Right.
don't have any money to pay for a $150 or $200 aircraft, I'm not going to pay the $200 aircraft. I'm going to get the base sim, and I'm going to do what a lot of people out there in the world is doing, which is playing with the default aircraft, and perhaps getting a $19 aircraft with $10 liveries. You know, that's what I'm going to do. What's going to happen to FSLabs? Well, either the community will keep on paying for their product or not, and then they have a decision to make. But honestly, I don't see the death. Like you said, Tristan, PC Gamer said some years ago that, the flight simulation
Yes,
community,
flight simulation dead. Yeah.
we were dead. We're living a second golden age. I don't know if you guys, feel this on yourselves, but I feel like we're living a second golden age of flight simulation. There are a lot of new companies coming up. There are a lot of great products coming up.
A lot of new sim platforms coming out as well, which is and sim likes, which we've talked about before.
Yeah, I'm actually getting an article ready with another website about the new generation of developers, and I was just talking to Drew about this. There's this guy Carl from Prop Strike Studios, a brand new team of developers, with a great modeler from the guy's Brazilian living in Canada. Luciano and Carl are a great team. They're developing these insanely cool and it's just blowing my mind.
Wow.
Tristan, the scenery is so damn cool, so damn good. You gotta see the screenshots. We're talking about
Orbix just released.
I can't wait to see it in VR.
Damn it, all with VR.
It's really insane. And this is a young team, and Carl is an 18-year-old guy, a student, and there's
our new generation.
Yeah, and there's this new development team that Ollie from Flight Deck X, told me about, which just released a scenery from Spain. I forgot the name again. And again, the guy told me, okay, look, Sérgio, this is a Portuguese girl. Okay, so she's doing these sceneries for X-Plane, and I talked to her, and this is a father-daughter team, and again, she's 19. She's a modeler, and she's doing models for X-Plane, and her father is doing the scenery. So that new blood that we were just talking about is coming into flight simming, and I don't think flight simulation is going to die ever, unless the developers, the base sim developers, start closing down.
And that's as I said, and that's my concern, is that we might be getting some in, but I'm afraid that too many of them are either going to be priced out of starting, or once they get in, they're going to be priced out of staying. That's my concern. So,
or maybe not, or they just get the base stuff. And one of the things. Let me just finish this line of thought. One of the cool things that I've seen on these two new teams is that they are, talking about releasing freeware or really cheap products. Before Carl started working as Prop Strike Studios with Luciano, he released a very small island and a couple of locations for X-Plane for what, Drew, $5?
Something like that. Yeah.
For $5, and he said that
it was ridiculously cheap.
Yeah. And I'm not sure about what the cost is going to be for this new product. If it was a full-blown price for just like any other scenery, it wouldn't shock me. The amount of work that these guys are having is absolutely insane.
I would easily pay like 20, upwards of $30 for something like that, because I've seen what he can do. He's already a proven entity to me.
He is, and
and I've been following Carl since his YouTube channel. If you don't know, Carl is Happy Camper on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to him.
We'll
this
pop a link
kid
down below.
Helped me out like immensely as far as getting my orthophoto scenery done. He was amazing as far as putting all of that together. He's also helped out iBlue Yonder with their transition.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Whatever price he wants to put on there, as long as it's not $150, I'll pay it.
And I suspect he'll charge even less for the scenery, because I think that's the if he won't, I'm not telling you, Carl, not to charge more or not to charge the $20. Okay, I'm not pressuring you, but I suspect that he's going to try and lower the price, because that's that's his spirit. And that's the kind of spirit that I see the new generation with a lot of guys that I've spoken with, a lot of young guys, which is not to charge this huge amount of money because they understand that if they charge less, they sell more, and in the end, at least things will be balanced,
Yeah.
and more people will
Which is,
have that
yeah, and
product
that's
legally.
and that is actually the point that again that sort of make gives that and I do want to sort of round out on that one. I think that that I think if you that's the tough decision that developers have to make, and that doesn't matter whether it's to do with flight simulation, gaming, whether you're a film producer, whether you selling your music online. It doesn't really matter. If you there's a line between what you need to charge and what will be affordable for people to buy and willing to pay, because one of the things, and it was very, very clear, I was saying before we started recording, until very recently, Australia was the #1 globally for pirating TV shows and music and movies. And that changed in the last few months simply because companies like Spotify, Netflix, Stan have all moved into the Australian marketplace and now started offering their services at a very affordable prices. So instead of having to pay $100 a month to see new release movies, now we can pay $15 a month. And suddenly, by having that price point, you suddenly the demand for piracy disappears. The demand for thieving content online disappears because accessing content legally becomes very affordable. And that's at least, as I said, I always want to make sure developers get paid for the work that they do, but I think it's something that maybe developers should really start considering. The fact is, if you make your content more affordable, just like the developers that Sergio, you just talked about, make your content more affordable and make it more accessible, and suddenly your audience will grow. And I must also say that, Sergio, I think we're going to have to rename you the Positive Simmer, because you have far more positive and faith and hope in the community, in the future of the community, than I think myself does. Anyway, sure. All right, so we're going to wrap this episode up. It has been a bit long, but these are important issues that we did want to cover, because I think it was really important to not just look at the scandal that was the malware, but actually look at the fundamental reasons behind it, whether they were good or bad. The fact is that there were some driving factors that we are actually all responsible for as well, and we all actually have the power to actually have a say in. So there you go. All right, folks. Thank you very much for sticking with the three Grumpy Simmers for another episode of Very Grumpy. So I'm going to say thank you very much to the resident software developer Sergio from helisimmer.com. Don't forget to like his channel. There'll be a link in the description, and head over to the website for all things helicopter simulation related. And of course, tipping the hat to the 2 more weeks aficionado, waiting very, very impatiently for his Tomcat and his Hornet. Thank you very much, Mr. Bel Geode.
Thank you as always, and to everybody out there, ciao.
And don't forget, folks, to head over to Bel Geode's channel and to give it a like and a subscribe as well, because there is some great content that goes up regularly. And of course, folks, signing off myself last, of course, my name has been Novaling24. Don't forget to throw this video a like and subscribe to the channel to keep updated with all the adventures of us 3 Grumpy Simmers from 3 very different time zones. And just rounding out, I do want to say, as I said at the start, and all 3 of us have agreed throughout this video, that piracy is theft. Okay, bottom line, it is not an acceptable behavior at all. Do not do it. So, think twice before you post those links. Who's got a link to this aircraft or something like that? Okay, we don't like seeing it. It doesn't become you, anybody as an individual, especially not as a part of our flight simulation community. If you can't,
and if you're on any of the Facebook groups that Sergio and I and Tristan are involved with, we will ban you for posting stuff like that. That's just don't do it.
And it's a fundamental thing, guys, and guys and girls that watch this, folks. The developers that develop this content, they put a lot of time and effort into that. Bel Geode, Drew's a content producer, Sergio's a software programmer, I'm a content producer as well for flight simulation, and a lot of the work and hours that go into that is insane. And it is fundamental that people who do this work get their compensation, their fair compensation for it. So if you can't afford to buy an add-on, don't save up and then buy it, or look for an alternative, an actual freeware alternative, not a pirated alternative. So just a little community service announcement to round out the message. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching and tuning in to the Three Grumpy Simmers. We will catch you all on the next episode coming soon. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time.